Well, here it is. We brought a crawler to the channel. The Traxxas TRX4M, brand new release. I was lucky enough to get my hands on one of these, and if you've been following the channel for a while, you may have noticed I don't really review crawlers. So this is kind of a newer thing for me. I actually have a TRX4 chassis kit, which I've done videos on in the past. I also have an Axial STX-10-3, but for the most part, not really a crawler guy. I just find them a little bit on the slow side. But yeah, you know, this thing came out, 150 bucks. Super small. I don't have an indoor, you know, or even outdoor mini scale crawler, and so I thought I'd pick one of these up. 1/18 scale Traxxas vehicle. It comes in two flavors, a Bronco and a Land Rover edition. Looking at the box real quick, nice to be able to get everything in frame. I've been doing a lot of large vehicles lately, so having this little mini guy is quite nice. 45-degree steering angle, micro servo, looks like some plastic, some metal gears, primarily plastic. Oil-filled shocks, which is really, really nice. Kind of class leading there, a brushed ESC. Brushed 180 sized motor, 87 turn, rather interesting. Includes a 750 milliamp hour battery, which I think is kind of proprietary. It does have a proprietary charger there. The BF Goodrich tires, which looks similar to the TRX4 tires I've got. I don't know what that is showing you a picture of. Looks like some sort of, oh, the clipless mounting system. 18th scale. Does come in a few different colors. As you can see, I did go with red. So 150 bucks, made in Taiwan there underneath the sticker. So yeah, let's open up this box, see what's going on inside. I obviously have not looked at it yet, so this is pretty exciting to me. I haven't really been watching videos on this. I know it was announced like, you know, I don't know, a month or two back. Kind of been sitting around, and then Traxxas announced and released the XRT, which I also have. And people are wondering, well, why is the TRX4 not here? TRX4M not here yet? So there you go. Quick start guide. Nice full color details. They usually have a parts list here with a blow up diagram. A few basic tools, cross wrench, some hex wrench as well. Looks like preload spacers for your shocks. The TQ radio, this is their super budget line radio. Most of the vehicles come with the TQI, so it really only has steering trim, as you can see there, single button and an LED light. 2.4 gigahertz, 4 AA's will get you going. The rest of the box looks like the 750 milliamp hour battery. Pretty cool. Little instructions saying not to probably stick this in your mouth or something. It does have the ID thing, so this should have the balance basically port, you know, as part of there. That's why there's 3 wires there. Some 2-cell LiPo, plenty of juice for your vehicle, some fire hazard instructions, which, you know, I don't feel like I need to read right now. I am sure I will read it later. Here's the charger, USB style. Some LEDs. There's a proprietary plug. I'm sure someone will make an adapter there if they haven't already. And the little truck itself. This is so nice. All right, let's take a little closer look. Okay, there you go. We got the saran wrap off of the body, and I've got a little Coke can here next to it for comparison, so you can kind of see the size of this thing. It is small, 1/18 scale, obviously, but actually a little bit bigger than most of the mini scale or micro scale crawlers out there, like the STX-24, which is going to be one of its main competitors. So Traxxas did decide to go with 1/18 scale, a little bit bigger, a little couple clips here underneath to remove the body. Here is kind of the hard shell. Fender flares, mirrors, all the details. Fairly sturdy roof. It does come in 4 different colors, blue, black, white, and red. And then there are a couple optional colors, I believe yellow and green as well. And here's a little truck. Cool. So no foam in the tires. Very, very soft. Pretty pliable. Looks like, I don't know, maybe 5mm wheel nuts. Fully you know, solid axles front and rear with trailing links. I believe they are plastic. Yeah, I believe they are plastic, and there are a lot of upgrades for this vehicle already available, so you can go down to your local hobby shop or online, whatever, pick up tons of upgrades for this thing. Looks like here's a centered steering servo, so a little bit different. Doesn't have that what do they call it, the panhard bar or whatever. It is a centered servo, which I think is nice. Will provide more I don't know what you call it, kind of like symmetrical steering. With the panhard bar, you actually get a little bit different steering left and right, maybe a little less torque steer. Does have not really portal axles, so they're just a direct drive out to the corners. Does have a pumpkin, which is a locked differential or spool basically. Plastic drive shafts out to the pumpkins, and then a center transmission there. Looks like here's the battery strap. Kind of a interesting design, and almost something like you would see on a modern day 10 scale race kit like a Team Associated B74.2. Has the elastomer battery strap, which I think is nice, pretty nicely tucked wiring there underneath. Here is the motor and transmission combo. It does come in a few different flavors, so they've got a sort of a high gear one, a low gear one, and then a middle geared one, which is this, the 180 87 tooth. I think they also sell different transmission gears. I've seen that as an option for like $5, little plastic gears. So you might be able to just change the gearing yourself if you don't want to change out motors. Here's the ESC. So yeah, 4 shocks, all plastic of course, well sprung. It feels firm without a body or anything on there, but once you put the body on, it actually feels pretty close to ideal. Quite a bit of softness, which is what you want. Does have bumpers front and rear with, looks like wiring for LEDs. So at least in the front, it looks like you got not really headlights, but maybe more like fog lights since it's integrated into the bumper. Plastic geared servo, micro sized. Here's the charging port, it looks like, or the plug for your battery. Separate plug for the servo, so that's pretty cool. And then a couple additional plugs here, I think, for the, yeah, it looks like the lights and the servo. I'm sorry, this is the motor. Oh, so it's a motor using sort of a almost Futaba style plug for the motor wiring. That's rather interesting. Chassis itself, I think, is steel, sort of a stamped metal, it feels like. So a lot of rigid, yeah, I think it's metal, but metal chassis rails. Sort of mustache shaped, of course. But yeah, kind of a LCG style design. Electronics here in the back, up high, but that's fairly light component. The battery down there in the middle, fairly heavy, of course, and then the motor also down in the middle, kind of you know, below the top of the shock mount. So this is kind of a different style. They got the shock mounts in the clearance for the suspension travel up in the front and back, but then down in the middle it is a little bit lower. So yeah, seems like a pretty nice vehicle overall. We are going to take this thing out and test it. I don't have a mini crawler already, so it'd be nice to try this thing out both indoors and outdoors and see how it performs. Okay, I got a chance to run the TRX4M for the last couple days and wanted to share my thoughts. So we'll kind of go over the pros and cons of this vehicle. Pretty fun little truck. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but I think it's actually pretty good overall. The pros of this thing, first off, the price is pretty competitive. $150 is pretty reasonable, especially when you compare to something like the STX24 from Axial. That's somewhere between $120 and $150 depending on which body you get. So at $150 with an included LiPo, with an included charger, and a pretty decent radio. You know, the TQ radio is totally fine. Actually pretty fair, not super cheap for a fairly plastic vehicle, but I think competitive and you know, totally worth it in my opinion. Second thing is it does actually bind up to the TQI radio, so you can just use the TQI radio, which is a better radio than the standard TQ radio. So if you have other Traxxas vehicles, it's nice to be able to upgrade to that better radio without having to change anything. You just bind it up to the vehicle. I do like the body actually. I think it pops out pretty easily. Really nice fairly heavy body actually, but some scale details like the spare wheel, the roof rails, the mirrors, windshield wipers, pretty decent body. Also, it is officially licensed, so you know that probably costs Traxxas like $5 or $10 for each of these vehicles. So you get a little more value there in that licensed body. It's not a knockoff or anything like that. Motor is pretty decent, enough torque to climb hills and stuff like that. Not fast, not slow. They actually make 3 different versions of this motor, so depending on how much speed you want as opposed to how much, you know, low-end torque you want, you can get different ones. But the one out of the box is kind of an in-between motor, not for super steep crawling, but it is torquey enough to go up fairly steep hills. Not a ton of speed either, so if you want to go on walks with this thing, I would say probably you want to get the faster motor, but totally good out of the box. Battery is actually quite nice. I do like the charger as well. The 2S charger is actually goes up to 2 amps, so it charges fairly quickly. I want to say, you know, like half an hour or so, you can get this battery up and running and on your way, so that's pretty cool. Other things I like about the vehicle, oil-filled shocks are nice and plush. They're actually reasonably smooth and I think fairly well sprung and fairly well damped. I think the stock suspension is actually really good. It's not like super crawler soft, but it's also not like too soft that you can't drive over a flat land and it's like rolling all the time. So yeah, oil-filled shocks, super nice. You know, most other vehicles in this class are not going to be oil-filled. They're just going to be spring dampers. So that is a nice upgrade on this vehicle. Performance-wise, it does actually drive quite a bit like its bigger brother, the TRX4. When I drove this thing, you know, despite the smaller size, I almost felt like I was driving my TRX4. The way it handles, I think the wheelbase is all adjustable just like the bigger brother, so TRX4 in wheelbase. But you can kind of tell it was comes from the same company. Characteristics are very similar. I think that's a good thing. I do like the way the TRX4 drives. You know, it's kind of that perfect balance, in my opinion, between a trail truck and not a super hardcore crawler, but it does have crawling abilities and makes it kind of fun. So performance-wise, yeah, it's almost like a scaled-down version of its bigger brother TRX4. And then other nice things, decent amount of adjustments, a lot of tunability. There are going to be a lot of accessories for this thing. I mean, even at launch day, you could buy a lot of different things. So I think that's really cool about this truck. I'm not really the kind of person to buy like a $150 truck and then spend another $300 on accessories. I think it makes a little more sense to probably just buy a TRX4 Sport or something like that for 300 bucks. I think you get a little more value that way, but I know people are going to bling this thing out, do a lot of crazy things. And certainly if you want like a smaller scale vehicle, you know, this is going to be one that you can upgrade and, you know, have it as fancy as you like. Now on the con side, there are a few things I kind of disliked about it. Obviously I already mentioned the proprietary connector. Hopefully someone will make adapters to this because I think it's just a standard 3-prong wire just in a proprietary format. That's probably my #1 complaint. Second thing is everything is plastic, so I kind of feel like they, you know, didn't spend a lot on this vehicle. I think it's reasonably well equipped out of the box, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's too expensive actually. I think it's really well priced for what you get, including the LED lights. I also do like that the LED lights are integrated in the bumper rather than the body, so you don't have all these wires dangling when you pop the body. The clip-on body is also very nice, but yeah, overall, everything is plastic. The shocks, the links, you know, the drive shafts, everything is plastic, which is okay. You know, this is not a heavy-duty vehicle, so it doesn't mean it's be super durable. I don't think you can really break this thing just driving it as is. But, you know, you don't really get a whole ton of, I think, extras in terms of parts quality with this vehicle. It is fairly light, and so I think that's part of the plastic thing. The vehicle being all plastic, it does have the weight kind of like centralized here in the middle with the motor and the battery. Those are going to be the 2 heaviest components. ESC in the back is okay, you know, servo down low is nice, but it does feel a little more top heavy than I think some other vehicles out there. The body is fairly heavy compared to the vehicle. It's not got the weight down low, so you don't really get that advantage of sort of that LCG effect with the weight down low, and I think it will actually benefit from having maybe additional metal parts to upgrade some of the lower suspension components. Finally, the body did pop off a few times. I don't know if I just didn't clip it in right or whatever, but they are fairly soft connectors. They do clip in, but I would say crashing this thing, rolling over, dropping it off a cliff or something like that, the body could definitely pop out. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the TRX4M. I think a really fun little truck. It's kind of priced kind of interesting in that it's 150 bucks, which is a little expensive for like a stocking stuffer type vehicle. But then again, you know, not a full-blown like 110 scale crawler, so it'll be interesting to see who actually buys this. I would say it's probably more for someone that's starting to get into crawling or wants something a little smaller scale. They don't want to, you know, be having to go outside and driving this thing. You could definitely drive this thing indoor and have fun that way, or you could also drive it outdoor on reasonably sized terrain. So anyways, those are my thoughts, my review of the Traxxas TRX4M. If you have any comments, throw them down in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe buttons. Look for more videos soon. Thanks for watching.